call it ugly. Whatever label you want to put on Hawaii's win over Central Arkansas is fine with the Warrior football team as long as that win-loss column reads a 1-0. In a game of two halves, it didn't matter that last night's come-from-behind victory against Central Arkansas was closer than Hawaii would have liked. All that matters to the Warriors is that the ending went their way.
I'm fine with the way it came out, you know. A win's a win. And that's all that's going to matter at the end of the season is that we got that win.
But I thought we were a little rusty in the first half, which happens. It was our first ball game. You get better between your first game and your second game.
Hawaii actually needed just one half to show improvement. After falling behind 14-2 in the second quarter, UH's halftime adjustments allowed Greg Alexander to open up. Despite missing on 6 of his first 10 attempts, the senior went 17 for 22 the rest of the way, tossing 3 touchdowns.
We gave up too many big plays on defense. I didn't think we did a very good job of containing the quarterback either. You know, we were able to handle some things on the back end coverage-wise and take away his reads, but then Alexander was really able to pull it down.
It was one of those things that, you know, we were stuck down in the red zone area. You know, if we're going to throw a ball like that, it's got to be us or nobody. Only a place where, you know, Rodney can go up and get it.
Alexander did account for 3 costly turnovers, but all was forgotten when he hooked up with Rodney Bradley in the back of the end zone to give UH the lead for good with under 2 minutes to go.
We had to score. We had 2 minutes and 28 seconds left, and we had to go down and score. We didn't want a field goal. We wanted a touchdown.
That winner-take-all mentality is what UH hopes to build off the rest of the way, despite the perceptions of their critics.
It's fine if people underrate us, you know. That's better for us. We're looking to go out there and prove everybody wrong this year anyway.
The Warriors hit the road this week. UH will meet Washington State at Qwest Field next Saturday. Kickoff is at 1 p.m. Hawaii time. And don't forget, for a more in-depth look back and look ahead to next week, tune into the Coach Mack Show tomorrow night at 10:30 p.m. right here on KGMB 9. Bad news today for former Warrior Colt Brennan. The Redskins placed Brennan on the injured reserve list, ruling him out for the remainder of the season. Team doctors say Colt tore his hamstring against the Jaguars this week, and head coach Jim Zorn says he wants to get his quarterback healthy for the future. Meanwhile, Colt's competition for the third-string QB spot, Chase Daniel, was released, meaning the Skins will carry just 2 quarterbacks when the season opens next week.
Turns out the injury to former Warrior quarterback Colt Brennan, who suffered the Redskins' loss to the Jaguars this past Thursday, was more severe than even Colt himself anticipated. Today, the Redskins, instead of cutting Brennan, put the 2008 6th-round draftee on the injured reserve list, meaning his season is over. Brennan left the game Thursday night, and an MRI revealed a torn left hamstring and a hip injury. In 2008, Brennan had surgery on the other hip prior to going into training camp, but was able to perform well in the preseason. This year, Colt was battling with Chase Daniel for the 3rd QB spot on the roster, and while this would have been a good opportunity to keep the former Heisman finalist out of Missouri, the Redskins opted to release Daniel. The move leaves the Redskins with 2 quarterbacks starting, starter Jason Campbell and veteran Todd Collins.
Yeah, they took an MRI, and he had a partially torn hamstring and a torn labrum in his hip, the other hip. And then the other hip, when he had the other hip before, he was having hamstring problems. So the hip seems to cause him hamstring problems. So he's going to go back and see the same guy that did the previous hip. We'll go in with 2 quarterbacks on the active roster.
Meanwhile, a few more players with Hawaii ties. The victim of 53-man roster cut down today, former Warriors Josh Leonard, was sent home by the Texans. Receiver C.J. Hawthorne was let go by the Bills, and defensive back Jameel Dowling was released yesterday by the Cardinals, along with Reagan Mauia and Aaron Francisco. Also today, former Warrior offensive lineman Keenan Forney was sent home from the Chargers, and former first-round draft pick Ashley Lally was let go by the Chiefs. Other local boys getting cut today: the Bears released offensive lineman Donovan Raiola, Wisconsin and Kamehameha standout, and his high school teammate, tight end Kolo Kapanui. Kapanui was able to post a preseason touchdown with the Bengals just 2 nights ago, hauling in this 25-yard pass from Jordan Palmer in the 3rd quarter of the Bengals' win over the Colts. He, along with the rest of the guys released today, will be hoping another team will either pick them up or place them on a practice squad. Last night, the Warrior football team opened the 2009 season with a win. Now, that was the end result, but getting there was definitely a journey. Hawaii favored to beat its smaller rival out of the FCS Southland Conference, formerly known as the Division I AA Central Arkansas. They needed last-minute heroics to pull out win number 1 in 2009. Started off shaky. Turnover in the first series of the game eventually led to the Bears' first score of the game. That's Greg Alexander being stripped of the ball. Then Brent Grimes took advantage, made it 7-0 with just a couple of minutes gone, scooting in from a yard out. Now, Hawaii would get on the board 2 series later, but it would come from a bad snap on a punt, kicked out of the back of the end zone for the safety, cut the gap, making it 7-2. Stayed that way into the second quarter. Bears drive 73 yards in 11 plays, and just over 5 minutes into the second quarter, post another score. Robbie Park finds Grimes again, this time through the air. It was 14-2 UCA. But the Warriors would get a little boost from the defense. Big hits were aplenty. Von Meatonga knocking the cap off of Park. Hawaii would get the ball back a couple of possessions later and finally post the first touchdown of the 2009 season. Greg Alexander hits Greg Salas with a 4-yard touchdown, a 5-play, 61-yard drive that made it 14-9. UCA still leading at the half, though. Hawaii used some of that momentum to do it again in the third quarter. 9 plays, 67 yards later. Alexander finds Kealoha Pilares with a 3-yard score. Hawaii with its first lead of the game, 16-14. And the Warriors were able to post a field goal in the next possession to make it 19-14 after 3. But the Bears, as you see there, able to get it right back. And Grimes again, the start of the fourth quarter, putting it in for his third score of the game. Bears regain the lead 2019. Warriors were plagued with turnovers throughout, crucial times as well. This fumble by Pilares gave the Bears the ball midway through the fourth. But once again, Hawaii's defense, with no returning starters from the previous year, came up big. Jeremy Bryant, 6 tackles, helping end the series. And then with 2 minutes, 20 seconds left to go, the Warriors mount a drive, starting with this hookup from Alexander to Salas, and it goes 66 yards deep into the Bears' territory and then out of bounds. Setting up this score, Alexander to Rodney Bradley, threading the needle with some precision and great catch in the back of the end zone. Hawaii goes up 25-20 after the 2-point conversion was failed, and Hawaii's defense closed it out. Final score, Warriors beat the Bears of Central Arkansas 25-20.
I told them at halftime we are going to win this game because we're not leaving the field until we win this ball game, because this was a must-win for us. I mean, we had to win this game. There was a lot of pressure on us and those kids that we had to win this football game.
You know, obviously we got the win, which is good. You know, you call it ugly, sloppy, you know, whatever you want to say about it. You know, the first half was, you know, just awful, but we were able to overcome the turnovers, and you know, we're all happy to get out of here with a win, but you know, we still got a long ways to go.
We made a lot of mistakes, and it showed out there, and that's why the score was like that. We made so much mistakes that missed a line, just little things that we got to go in there and correct and make ourselves better.
Hawaii is on the road for the next 3 games starting this week. Warriors will head to Seattle to face Washington State, who was beaten up today by Stanford. Warriors and Cougars hook up next Saturday at 1 p.m. Hawaii time. Yep.
Well, every NFL team had to cut their roster down to 53 players today. Among the players who made their team's opening day roster are Cleveland Browns linebacker David Vekune and Tennessee Titans cornerback Ryan Mouton. Now, last night, their former team opening the season against Central Arkansas. The Warriors get off to a slow start against the Bears. First quarter, UH trailing 7-2. The team inside the 30, but Greg Alexander is picked off by Perry Fazell in the end zone. So the Warriors come up empty. Then in the second quarter, Alexander out of the shotgun. Plenty of time. He decides to tuck it and run. He's got some room to the outside, but he loses the football. Oh, no. It's one of 4 fumbles for the Warriors. Once again, the Warriors come up empty, but later in the second, the Warriors get on the board. Alexander hits Greg Salas for the 4-yard touchdown. UH trails 14-9 at the half. Then in the third, Hawaii inside the 5, and it's Alexander over the middle to Kealoha Pilares. The Warriors take their first lead of the game, 16-14. But the Bears come right back in the fourth. Brent Grimes over the top for the score. Central Arkansas regains the lead 20-19. But Blaise Soros gets the sack on the 2-point conversion, so the score remains a 1-point lead for the Bears. So with under 2 minutes to play, the Warriors inside the 10, and it's Alexander to Rodney Bradley for the game-winning touchdown. The Warriors win their season opener as they come from behind to beat Central Arkansas 25-20, the final.
You know, I think, you know, the O-line, the receivers did a great job. You could put all 3 of those turnovers on me. You know, just mental mistakes, not covering the ball, misread on the pick. You know, so those are on me. I got to fix those. But, you know, we got the win, so we'll take it and learn and move on.
Yeah, offensively, we kept shooting ourselves in the foot every time we would start to get something going. We fumble or an interception, you know, that's in the red zone a couple times, I think. So, I mean, that really killed us. But we knew not to get nervous. We knew what we could do, and we showed it at the end.